Good afternoon, and welcome to the second lecture in this spring's faculty lecture series. So before we get started, we acknowledge with gratitude and humility that at Williams College we learn, speak, and gather on the ancestral homelands of the Mohican people, the indigenous peoples of this land. Having suffered tremendous hardship and being forced from here, today their community resides in Wisconsin and is known as the Stockbridge-Muncie community. We pay honor and respect to their ancestors past and present as we commit to building a more inclusive and equitable place for all. So welcome today to the second of 6 lectures in the spring 2024 faculty lecture series. I'm Liz McGowan, and along with Ann Jascott and Michael McDonald and Carrie Green, we've organized this series for you this spring. Today's speaker, Tomas Adalsteinsson. Did I do it right? Okay, thanks. And Christi Kelsey hail from the largest faculty at Williams College, and that is the athletics department. And this is the first time that they've had an opportunity to speak in the faculty lecture series. So before we get to another first, a team presentation, in the lecture series, let me explain that for those who are attending for the first time what the series is all about. The series was founded in 1911 by Catherine Mariotti Pratt, the spouse of a faculty member who wanted to, quote, relieve the tedium of long New England winters with an opportunity to hear Williams professors talk about issues that really mattered to them. And so from these lighthearted beginnings, the faculty lecture series has grown to become an important forum for professors to share their latest research with the larger intellectual community at the college. So I also want to note that there will be a reception with 155 cookies that will be held upstairs at the Williams College Museum of Art in their reception space right inside the lobby. So let me tell you something about our speakers today. Tomas Adalsteinsson is an assistant professor and head coach of women's golf. He helped establish the Williams women's golf team as one of the most prominent programs in the NCAA Division III, with 5 consecutive NESCAC Championship titles, and second and fourth place finishes in the NCAA Championship. Now that's big, that's very big. In 2019, he was named Women's Golf, what's the CA stand for? WGCA? Coaches Association and Golf Pride Division III National Coach of the Year, and also WGCA and Golf Pride Division III East Region Coach of the Year, and also NESCAC's Women's Golf Coach of the Year. So that's 3 accolades in 2019. Well done. Adalsteinsson holds a master's degree in sports psychology, so he is able to apply this in mysterious ways to his players that allow them to achieve these incredible heights in their golfing prowess. Christi Kelsey, assistant professor and head coach of women's volleyball, has led the EAPs to 14 straight NESCAC tournament appearances, including 3 NESCAC Championship titles and 2 runner-up trophies. She's also helped guide the program to 6 NCAA tournaments. She has twice been named NESCAC Coach of the Year and was awarded the American Volleyball, what's the C for? Coaches Association. Okay, American Volleyball Coaches Association Regional Coach of the Year in 2013. So I'm getting the terminology down. Before we get started with their team lecture, I would like to announce that next week on February 22nd, Alex Bevilacqua will speak to us on chivalry and alterity at the Renaissance Tournament. So please join me in welcoming Tomas and Christi, who will speak to this afternoon on Belieph, cultivating teams beyond courts and courses.
Well, first off, on behalf of Tomas and I, we just want to thank the Faculty Lecture Series Committee. We do acknowledge that this is the first time athletics has been asked to be involved with this, and we're very honored that we get to represent our department in this. And a big thank you to Carrie Green in particular and Liz for helping us organize all the materials that we needed for today. And also, just to start, a big thank you to all of you. There's a lot of familiar faces to both Tomas and I in the audience, and some people who know us well, and some people who maybe don't know us as much, but it means a lot for you to take time out of a very busy start, I know, to second semester to be here with us. So thanks for your time today, and hopefully you enjoy the next hour or so with us. Just kind of overview what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to divide our lecture into 4 parts. So the first part is going to give a little introduction to athletics, and in particular women's athletics and opportunities here at Williams and how that kind of started. And at the same time, overview sort of the big picture for us of the why we do what we do and what our programs in a big way are about and how we view our place and our experience here as part of Williams as a whole. The second piece, we're going to dive into the people, and I know a lot of people in this room, all of us are here because of our students. And so we're going to talk about what role we play in terms of bringing an amazing group of people here to be a part of this experience and share in this community. The third piece, we're going to dive in a little bit deeper. Thomas is going to use golf as an example to sort of overview how we might think about the development of our teams across maybe a 4-year career for some of our players, and then go of what it looks like from season to season across the year, and then as we prepare on a weekly basis for practice and competition. And then the last part, we're going to share just some personal reflections and stories about some really impactful moments that we've had during our time here with our teams. So that being said, a little bit of background and history. So you can go next slide there, Thomas. Williams had its first, there we go. All right, so one thing I want you to do with me to start. So close your eyes. You don't have to if you're not comfortable. I promise nothing will happen. There's no magic tricks here. I want you to think back to a time, and it can be in your professional field that you're in right now. It could be when you were younger. It could be something that has happened more recently, but that you got experience with something. It could be a thing. It could be an activity where you stopped and you went, oh my gosh, this is really cool. I want to learn more. I want to know more. This thing that I just got introduced to, this is awesome. And when you wake up the next morning after interacting with this thing, you think, when can I do this again? How can I find out more? How can I go learn more about this particular topic or this particular experience? And as you think about that thing, whatever it might be, or that experience, I want you to think about, were there people then that you sought out that shared that similar spark, or that share that similar interest, and that helped continue to fuel that you wanted to, again, do more, learn more, grow more? And as you think about those people, the last piece I want you to think about as you have that in your mind, were there people along the way, either in your past or even maybe right now in your present, that believed in you, supported you, and maybe even helped mentor and guide you to new opportunities to continue to grow in that experience? All right, so go ahead and open your eyes if you haven't. So I just want you to hang on to that for a second, because it's really important to think about something that I'm going to use the word, everybody knows this, so we're going to talk about passion, right? Of what it is, and again, everybody in this room represents something different about what their role is here at the college. And hopefully if you thought about something on a professional level, great. If you thought about something else, that's okay too. It's still something that's meaningful to you. For Thomas and I, we recognize that athletics and sports has been our passion, and teaching and coaching. But there comes some history with it first. So athletics here started at Williams. The first intercollegiate competition was actually a baseball game in 1859, Williams versus Amherst. Dick Quinn is the know-all, be-all for everybody who knows him about all the history in Williams athletics. But 2 really important things happened that would impact where Thomas and I get to sit today with our teams and our programs. So first, Williams became coeducational in 1971 to allow women to be a part of this experience here at the college. And most of you, how many people know what Title IX is, or have heard of Title IX? Big piece of federal legislation that provided more opportunities for women, particularly around sports, but it was in terms of higher education and access to higher education. So both of those things were super important to have happen. And then what fueled things from there in terms of athletics and women's opportunities at Williams was there were people that were here that were passionate about wanting to add to their Williams experience. So women who came here that wanted to be a part of the educational experience here at a higher level, and then also found common things that they wanted to partake in as part of their college experience. So the first women's team was field hockey in 1972 to compete at the varsity level. We were lucky volleyball came along in 1976. So a few of my players, I don't know if they know it goes that far back. Women's golf, a little bit later history. They were a club sport in 1998 and then earned full varsity status in 2004. And it was really fun. I found some of these pictures. First couple field hockey players, obviously they had a whole team back in 1972. That's actually the first volleyball team for some of my players that are here. Pretty cool. We'll get some of those uniforms as throwback. That's the old LaSalle gym if you've ever been there. And then this is a group of women's golf from 2007. So why is that important, right, to think about the history? Is because Tomas and I both value people before us have built a foundation for creating an experience of what we hope to continue while we're here. And so the big picture for us of the why is each of us have some different things for our program. I think about this beyond anything else about what we're trying to create for people that come and be a part of this experience, not just with our team, but across Williams. So Belieph is part of our talk. I'm not a very creative person, but in 2009 when I was hired here, it's the one thing I came up with and got super excited about. I remember writing it on the whiteboard before our first competition in the fall of 2009, and it's stuck ever since. It's on things that we wear. It's what our group really does embody about the big picture, and it speaks, not to just what we're doing as part of our volleyball program, but what we hope people will value as part of our team. So a little bit of a definition there. I know team can have a lot of context. It's not just within athletics, but we really do want people to think about their impact and their role as something bigger than themselves. And we do use a lot of words when we talk about passion for growth, passion for competing, passion for learning, right? How we go about supporting one another, humility, service, family, and above all, love for each other. And I know, again, that's a big, grand ideal, but that's really what we think about when we start to drill down into the overall experience year after year after year of what we value in our program. And Tomas has similar things for how he does women's golf.
So thank you, Christi. Those are three, you can call them core values, you can call them pillars, something that guides us in our program, how we create cultures, how we create programs. In the women's golf program, focus is one of those big things. And in my master's studies, I did a thesis on sustained attention. And what I learned that optimal focus, attention, can be held for about 7 seconds. So you've all been distracted multiple times by now. And Christi and I don't get very offended by that. We understand that happens. It happens in all of our classes, all of our daily lives. That's understandable. So the ability to direct our attention to the relevant task and process that information is essential to learning. And given the time constraints of our Williams students, our goal is to be as efficient as possible. So the focus, the ability to pay attention is an essential part of that. And we get about 2 hours for daily practices during the division of the day that we can do our practices. Now, a round of golf sometimes takes more than 4 hours, which if we're preparing for a competition that takes more than 4 hours, we have to get a lot more out of more limited time than that. There are teams that we compete with that do play for 4 hours, if more, multiple times a week. We stay honored to the academic commitments of our students. So we say, okay, let's be really focused, let's be attentive, let's be present, and let's get more out of those 2 hours than maybe someone else might get out of 4 hours. Resilience is another one. Grit. It's that passion, it's that perseverance kicking back in. And when it comes to resilience and perseverance, we keep emphasizing every single shot matters. We talk about all the time that in golf, every single shot can make the difference. An example of that is in 2018, we played the national championship down in Mission in Florida. just outside of Orlando. And after 4 days of competition, 72 holes, 5 players playing, 4 counting each day, we had shot about 1,263 shots as a team. It's a lot of golf shots over 4 days. Again, those rounds take well over 4 hours. They're often a bit longer than that. And when everything had been added up after the 4th round, we were tied for first place with Claremont McKenna in California. And so we went into a playoff. Unfortunately, it wasn't in the books for us. We got beaten that day in 2 extra holes of playoffs. But that really showed us every single shot matters. So we have to persevere. We have to be disciplined. We have to be focused on every single shot. The third value that guides us is team first. Golf is an individual sport. It's easy to be kind of selfish and only focus on yourself. Actually, before college, most of our players, that's the only thing they knew. They played individual sport where they only had to pay attention to themselves. But we believe that together we achieve greater success and be a stronger team than the sum of the individuals. Therefore, when someone asks about our team, we get interviewed, we get asked for quotes for sport information and so forth, the emphasis on what the team has done together. And rather than what individuals have accomplished themselves, it's always like the team succeeded. This is the score that team shot. This is where the team placed. To kind of bring that group back together and put the team first beyond the individuals that contributed to that. But those are just examples of the values, our core beliefs. And next, Coach Kelsey will take us to the beginning of the team process.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about recruiting. And again, I think maybe people are the most important thing about this experience at Williams, right? And what our students and how we serve them and what we're trying to create. So we have this big picture that our programs value, and then how do we go out and find who wants to be future Eves, right? Who wants to value everything about our programs, but more importantly, again, a place like Williams and what the educational experience would be like here, right? And everything that entails. So just to kind of overview, because maybe some of you, if you have kids of your own, you may understand youth sports a little bit if they aspire to play at a different level. But this is all about, for us, relationship building. And it starts pretty early on for folks in high school. I've had people as young as 7th or 8th grade write and say, I'm really interested in Williams, I'm really interested in your program. And I write back and I always say, thank you, it's so exciting. Try high school out first, see what you like. And then we'll talk a little bit down the road. But most of the time, we're getting to know these people in sophomore or junior year. And so we get to spend a year or 2 or more really trying to understand who might be the best fits to come and be a part of this experience. So what does that look like for us? It's a lot of email. It's a lot of phone calls and time spent on evenings and things like that, reaching out to people to make initial connections, follow-up connections. We run camps and clinics here to try to work with people and get to know them better on an athletic level and have them come to campus. People just naturally come to campus and visit Williams as they come through. We always meet with them when they want to come and see what this place is all about. And then a lot of what we do, not just in the off season, but throughout our seasons too, is we go to regional and national youth club tournaments and try to identify people again that might want to come and be a part of our program. So if you go to the next slide. So what are we looking for? And these are 3 big pieces. First and foremost has to be people who are really strong students. What do they value academically? What do they want to have their experience be here, and how they're going to engage with continuing to grow at the college level? Are they intellectually curious? Are they interested in what a particular institution like Williams with a liberal arts education might have to offer? And you know, we look at grades, we look at scores, But I think what's really important is we have this really awesome collaboration and partnership with admissions, who gives us a lot of really great feedback about who makes strong candidates here to come and be a part of this experience, so that we're not only adding to our teams. It's not just about whether or not they can play volleyball or play golf or any other sport. They really have to be able to add to the vibrancy of the community here, engage in the classroom, and then hopefully take this whole experience and go on and do something else beyond Williams. So that partnership is really important when we're thinking about the academic side. And the other thing is too, we don't want to bring people in here who aren't intellectually curious and don't want to grow, because it sets them up for failure, right? To not be able to handle this place. And it's not, it's not for everybody, right? There's different ways and things that people want to have their college experience be, and we want people that are only going to help enhance what that looks like here in the classroom. The second piece is certainly like, can they play volleyball and help impact us and help grow our program? And what's cool is that volleyball now is the most played women's sport at the middle school and high school level. It passed basketball a couple years ago, so it's an exciting time for volleyball, not taking anything away from golf. But it's really cool to be able to go out. There are a lot of talented people who want to have an experience to come play at the Division III level, who value both their academic and athletic experience, and that have a lot of talent. Like, can they come in and help impact our program with their skills, right? But I think the last piece is sometimes also the most important. You can have really talented people that aren't going to be the best fits for that Belieph piece for us, or what we might want them to be as part of the Williams community here. So when we go out recruiting, we're looking at a lot of things that are sort of the intangibles, right? Which are, how are they with their coaches? How are they when they're getting feedback? What are they like as teammates? Are they supportive on the court? What are they like with their parents? Seen some really interesting things on the sideline as we're out looking at and evaluating talent. And then I think a couple other important pieces to note is, what are they like when they're winning? What type of sportsmanship do they have toward the other team? And probably equally important, what's happening when they're losing? What happens when they make a mistake? How do they handle failure in that moment, or moments over the course of watching them for a particular weekend or set of weekends when we get a chance to see them play in person? And I think all of those things help inform us of, would they be able to help not only impact our team, but again, grow here as part of this experience. So the bottom part is just, for my time here, we've had people from all over the US and some other countries as well, which again just speaks to Williams' national draw as an institution. So we're really lucky. There's a lot of great volleyball all over the US. So the fact that we get to go out and find players from those places is awesome. So what does it look like? When I'm going out this weekend recruiting. So I know my players, this will look familiar to them. So this is a typical club tournament, just so you have a frame of reference. So when I walk into a gym, there's about 100 courts. 100 courts. I'm going to send my assistant Adam to, who's going to have 150 courts of people around this year. So it's a lot of steps to track. But we're trying to find an EF in a haystack, so to speak. Okay? So of all these people, we're out trying to find all those things we talked about to make it look like this. So it's creating these types of experience. Who's going to help us do this, right? And it's not just, there's those three things that we talked about, big picture, but like, how are they going to fit as part of our team to help create this experience? So the people really are at the heart of what we do. So Tomas is then going to talk about how we take now the people and then create a plan for how we help them grow.
Yeah, so now these bright, talented, ambitious students have joined our teams. They're looking for a challenge to grow as people, as athletes. We have developed teams to help them get better in their sport, or develop programs to get better in their sport and perform in competition. I'm going to introduce you to three concepts, tools, a development curriculum for golf that is a work in progress, a practice plan, what we're working on currently right now, just started our spring season, and then some tournament preparation. So this document here is something that for several years I've been working on, developing, adding to, removing from, all those things. I look at this as the golf development curriculum. It has these 5 domains at the top. So I think about when we're developing training programs, it has a physical training, mental training, technical training, tactical training, and then cultural or social training. And going back to recruiting even, when I'm evaluating talent and prospective students for our team, I look at what are their strengths. Somewhere on that list, they're going to have strengths. And I also look at what are the areas that I could help them with. I'm not an expert in everything. I don't have expertise in all of those things on that list. So I need to be able to believe that I can support them in some ways. That where my skill set lay, that's going to fit well with them. I might find a golfer at an event, a recruit, prospective student, that might have an element there. It's like, I'm not sure I'm the right person. We are the right program for that particular player to develop the skill set they need. So also when a player has joined our team, we go through an exercise. We're looking to sort of create a profile about, I ask them to assess themselves. So this actually has like a 1 to 10 rating. So give yourself on all those elements. If you need definition explanations, I'll get you through that. But give yourself an assessment of like, where do you sit compared to the best in the world? Where do you sit with those things? And we're looking for two things. We're looking to, what are your strengths? Because we're going to continue to work on your strengths, because that's what made you good to begin with. And then we're going to be looking at what are some elements that you feel like you can work on. It's really low-hanging fruit. What's going to make you better in a relatively short time? Because if you think about it, college season, even your college career, goes by really fast. It's not a lot of time you have to really work on those things. But also by having them evaluate themselves, have them select the areas, both of their strengths and areas of improvement, it gives them a sense of ownership in the process. It's like, I get to have play a part in what I really want to work on during this process. Then from there, we are gonna, if you change to the next slide, we're gonna take that concept, those areas, we kind of build goals around them. We find some objectives, and we put them in a big annual plan. And that's what you have up here. Up in purple and gold, you're gonna have some elements of those 5 domains that I talked about. So throughout the year, I actually talked about the year starting in February. We just started now with spring practices. We're a dual season sport. So we have competition in the spring and in the fall for the most part. We're gonna have our ongoing mental training. We talked about mental performance training. We're gonna have strength, speed, and mobility as a part of that physical training part. We're gonna have technique and tactics that we're gonna work on in practices during our rounds when we're out playing. Then we're gonna have our competition. I just showed this week when every now and then we go over this with our team, and I just showed them this. For the sense of understanding, the work that we put in, the hours that we put in throughout the year, it's greatly gonna impact the rest of their lives, other areas of their lives. So I break it up in seasons. We talk about developmental season now, February, March. We go into spring competitive season, April and May. We have summer development, where they might have some competition involved. We have fall preparation as we move into end of August, closer to the fall starting. We have fall competitive season, and then for the remainder of the year into January, there's the necessary break, the recovery, to kind of becoming refreshed for the new year, being able to put this all back together. We want to be really clear and have sport-specific training and development. And we also want to be mindful of how this is impacting everything else that student has going on in their lives. So the remainder of the chart, we're hoping that they're sleeping at least 8 hours a day. And that's really for their own health and well-being, and making sure if you're not sleeping well, it's hard to do other things and be really great at other things in your life. We want to make sure they're getting good energy. They're nurturing themselves. So spending meals and having a time to prepare meals, go through dining halls, but it takes about 2.5 hours a day. They have classes to go to and homework to do, right? So we add that up. You might have work responsibilities, commitments outside of that time. We're going to include some of that. It's important to attend to your social activities. Connect with other people around you, build up relationships. So we're going to include time for that. We're going to include our golf schedule, how much time that takes. And each month, we're going to just add that total up. How many hours does that take? And then just how many hours are available each month? Time is the one limited resource here. We're going to break it down. What's the difference per month and what's the difference per week? I say this not to scare our students, just understand how they can best manage their time. And there come times during the year. April, we have most of our tournaments in April. That's heavy time, but it's also heavy academic time. We're just coming out of spring break. Midterms start to kick in, final papers due. We're starting to get into the finals period. There's not a lot of hours left in the day for other things. Actually, in September is probably our hardest month. We're in the minus. We don't have time for everything that we've scheduled for ourselves. So something has to give. So we're trying to make the understanding of like, okay, what's going to give? Hopefully you're not sleeping less. Hopefully you're still making time to get good nutrition. Hopefully you're still going to your classes and doing your homework. They're ambitious. They're talented. They want to continue to grow in their sport. So there are elements that have to give, but how can you best balance that and be disciplined with your time? So moving on, how does this look on a weekly, daily basis? This is where we're at right now. We just went through individual sessions yesterday. They had a workout today, actually right now, that's why they're not here, in LaSalle. And so you start to look at like, we have our team talk, an hour and a half every week that's focused on either the mental aspect of the game, cultural, social aspects of the game. I'm a big believer in we have to be able to talk about these things, put them forward, spend time on those non-tactical, technical things as well. But we're going to spend time on the physical, the mental, the technical, the tactical, the cultural things. It's all going to be set out. And being intentional, what that looks like every day. What are you going into that our students know what to expect going into that day? What are we going to be working on? And this is all to help us prepare for our first tournament this spring, which will be during spring break. So we can leave it at that. So tournament preparation, it's the next thing I'm going to talk about. So to get ready for competition, for each tournament, we need to know what our game plan is, where each player is at, and how to best play that golf course. So those are the things that we're thinking about. So the Amherst is hosting at the Orchards, middle of April. I'll show you this. You can pull it around. This is a course guide, yardage book, that will tell you how each hole looks like, maybe distances in certain places on each hole that we can study. We can study that golf course. We use also Google Earth to kind of map out and get really accurate pictures. Sometimes there's videos of the golf courses to kind of guide us through that. Make yourself familiar with that golf course that we're about to play. This is a rangefinder, a laser. I can see Keith in the back is 11 yards away from me right now. That's one thing that each player has to know exactly where I'm at, where my golf ball is at, and my target, whether it's the flag stick, the hole, wherever I'm going. I can measure exactly how long is that shot. We use launch monitor. We have something called a GC quad. It's a specific name of a launch monitor, a technical thing that we connect to a projector, a screen that we hint into that kind of simulates our shots. It's a very accurate device, but we can use that. I can actually tell a story. Catalina Turralte went to nationals this past spring. We brought the launch monitor with us. We can bring it with. It's a mobile thing. And we could plant it next to her ball on the driving range, and we can see exactly how far she's hitting each shot. It will give us a number right away. And that way, we can prepare with each club. We can gain knowledge. How far are you hitting with each club? at that given moment in that atmosphere, but it also reads the temperature, the wind, and all those things. Very helpful. And finally, we have to come up with a game plan. Each player, and this is where I help them with that, is deciding on how I'm going to play each hole. I'm going to play each round. What club am I going to hit in each tee box? And so those are all important things as we get ready for competition, the actual performance part. That often, like, all the accolades, the accomplishments, the successes are judged from. But, and we can get very technical, very specific. I can go really quickly into the weeds with all of those different elements of it. But coaching is about a lot more than just the X's and O's. It's about making connections and developing relationships. I get emotional, even talking about it, thinking about it. But all these pictures bring back memories, really positive memories. And I really live by this saying of no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And the important thing is, whatever knowledge gaining we're going through, any teaching, any learning, is it really going to stick with them? And it's like, how can we help them buy into what we're doing and showing that we care? So, making time to connect as people. Because student athletes are more than just their sport. To see long-term success, it's important to prioritize the person that plays the sport, not just the sport. We were watching a video on Tuesday night as a team that was talking about identity and identity of players. And there's a term in golf about a really good golfer. It's a scratch golfer. It's not a scratch golfer. It's a person that plays golf around par. And that's the important thing. One other small example is at the beginning of each practice, we give each player a chance to share what's at the top of their mind that day, to check in what's going on in their lives. Most of it has nothing to do with golf. It's their academics, it's their daily life, social activities, their family, health, well-being. As we've seen, we get to enjoy a lot of time with each student. From the recruiting process, past graduation, way beyond 4 years of college. And it's an honor for us as coaches that we get to participate in this journey with them. Now, just share a couple of reflections. I've done so already with a few of them. But one important thing is progress is not linear. Success just doesn't just come in one day. Or in this, like, if I do this, then I get this. It's not a simple formula. And one of the things I showed you earlier with the season, how we break them up, and I didn't mention that as much, but we think about, okay, when do we want to be playing our best golf? When do we want to be at our peak? And one of the things I show our team, our players, is going back in time, we tend to peak about every 4 to 5 weeks. After 4 or 5 weeks of training, then we're starting to see our best performances. And one of the years way back, so Joe Kim is on the far left here in the top left picture. She was I think a freshman rather than a sophomore that year. And we were going through that, and they're all like, they take it in, they understand, they nod their heads, and we move on. And then we play the whole season, and okay, we have good success towards the end of the fall season. We go in the spring break. We won a tournament at the end of spring break. We had some not so good performance at the beginning of, after coming back from spring break. And then we finished second at the national championship in Houston, Texas. And she comes back to me in postseason sort of wrap-up meetings. I said, Coach, when you were talking about that, like, the waves we're going to go through, you're going to see our performance go up and down, And we had a plan going on. It's like, he was like, yeah, coach, okay, good. It looks good on paper. Like, I don't know really how it's going to pan out in practice. But it was amazing how it actually worked. Like, it's incredible that that's exactly what I saw myself going through. At that same tournament, Cordelia Chan is holding the big trophy. She won the individual national championship. So at the national champions in golf, the NCAAs, we play both a team competition and individual competition. We finished second in the team competition. She finished first in the individual competition. She was a 4-time All-American, 4-time academic All-American, just finished her dental program at Columbia, is now at Tufts for some specialty training, still playing golf. She said right after that, did we win? Did we win as a team? She said she would do anything to turn in her individual national championship if that meant that the team would have won it. For me, that says everything about our culture of putting team first. I'm going to turn it over to Christi.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to pick. I've had 14 amazing seasons here, and certainly these pictures capture a lot. And there's a lot more that we could share. But I had to try to think of some reflections on my own of a particular stretch of time that's really impactful. And so for me, there's a group. Some of them are pictured up here in the top right. In 2012, we kind of had what I would say average season. On paper. We had one, I think we were like 13 and 12, so around 500, which for sports is right in the middle. There's some really great things about it, but outcomes-wise, if you just looked at it on paper, you can judge it a certain way. But we sat down at the end of that season, and that group said, we did some things really, really well, but what's missing? And a lot of what they talked about was like, yeah, we supported each other well, we were invested in each other, but we could do this even better. And they really committed to themselves over the summer and into the following fall about changing or elevating where our connections were at as a team. Sure, they trained harder. They did some things differently in terms of how they prepared going into the 2013 season. But I tell you that even though it was enjoyable to coach through 2012, 2013 was a magical season for us, followed up in 2014 by something that was an experience that outcome-wise was also just as rewarding. And so in 2013, we won the NESCAC title after being right in the middle of the pack the year before. We went on to the Sweet 16, which for NCAAs is really great. There's 430 schools that sponsor Division III volleyball, so to be one of the final 16 is pretty cool, which our group did that last year again as well. And then in 2014, we went to the Elite Eight, which was a really incredible experience. But I think what matters most to me is those are great things to share. But this particular group, every fall, some subset of them comes back as part of our preseason. They love Williamstown. I think they come back for lickety-split probably more than anything else. But because of what we've created with our volleyball family, and also because of what all of you have created in their experience at Williams, this place means so much to them that they want to continue to give back to the people that are going through the experience right now and beyond. And Thomas and I both probably get really emotional when we talk about our players and the impact that they have on us, hopefully just as much as we have on them. But it's those types of things that really matter to us when we think about our teaching and our coaching. So to close, to kind of circle back, we ask all of you about that moment in time that you had a spark of passion that got you interested maybe in your professional field now or something else that's really important in your life. For me, volleyball started when I was 8 years old. I had a babysitter who introduced me to the sport, started out playing balloons, trying to keep it in the air. Then it progressed to actually learning about the sport. And she was someone who was a local high school star, went on to play at a high level in college. And for me, the minute she introduced me to it, I was hooked. But as I grew, I got the opportunity to play club sports, club volleyball when I was 10, and then continued to 12 and 14. It became so much more than just what is it like when I'm hitting a ball or passing a ball or defending a ball or whatever it might be, all the terms that are in our sport. It became about the people and about the experience. And so for me, that passion continued then of how can I create that experience and create those kinds of opportunities to make that type of impact on students and on people. And so for me to be able to be passionate now about teaching and coaching is why Williams is one of the best places that I could be. This is the right fit for me. I value what they get to do off the court. I want them to be and take part of everything that this experience has to offer. We want to be driven about what we're doing in our sport and try to help them discover where they can go in their 4-year journey. But it's about all of those other experiences too, the people they meet, the relationships they build with fellow peers, with their professors, with staff here across campus, everybody that impacts their lives on a daily basis.
Yeah, and for myself, I often joke about it, that teaching and coaching golf, the game of golf, it's like liberal arts education. It's a strong parts science and strong part arts. And that's really how I approach it. When I actually had a coffee this afternoon with an alum that graduated last year, doing now some investment banking work, and we were talking about some of those things, and challenge came up, and I enjoy the challenge of working with highly driven, ambitious, often highly perfectionistic students, and I strongly believe it's like providing that challenge. That's what they're looking for. They come here because they want to be challenged. They want to grow as people, just as much as students, as golfers, and so forth. And I was like, okay, what's fun? What's fun about golf? What's fun about coaching? And it's not always like laughing, dancing, fun, smiling. It's not. Sometimes really hard. Sometimes it's crying, frustration, all those things. And some years ago, I learned about this example of, it's sort of like, who enjoys doing a jigsaw puzzle in here? Puzzling. Does it in holidays. It's like, there's like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 piece puzzles of like rolls of toilet paper that are all white. And it's like, yeah, it's like, and if you think about it, there's an alien in the sky looking down, and it's like this human, this person that sits there like, they've spent hours of looking for one piece. And it's like, I can't find it. I was like, I'm hungry. I need to take a break, eat something, go to the restroom, then come back. It's like, I found it. Whew. Now only 2,999 to go. You found one piece. And you say, do you like puzzling? Yeah. Do you think it's fun? Yeah. What's fun about it? I don't know. It's the challenge that we go through. It's just finding that piece, having that one moment. Because it's not about the final picture. It's not about the results. It's not about the outcome. Because if you're looking for like, oh, once I've put them all together, I get to see what the picture is. Look at the box. The picture's on the box. That's not the whole purpose. It's having to getting to go through each step, the challenge of putting each piece together. That's what really, really matters in this. So I'll close it with this, offering up to questions from all of you, but thank you for your time and your attention.
Humor me, because I'm obsessed with coaches and coaches' IQ. It came recently in my life, and what you didn't mention in this talk is that the competition, the winning, that students come here to win. Like they really, at least my impression, like you want to have that. So as a coach, like the team dynamic is hugely important. It can make all the difference. But then when you're assessing like your volleyball IQ and your golf IQ, someone who's not quite there, because none of them come, well, maybe they do, but it seems like they go to Div 1 or Texas or whatever they go. How do you, like, what are you looking for, like sheer physical body features and talent to project that potential? Like, is this just something like, you know, I work on embryos, I know embryos, I get it. Is it something like that? Or is it like you can learn it? I don't know if you can answer that question or you can talk after.
Yeah, no. I mean, I can answer it from a volleyball perspective. So there's certainly all different levels when I go out and watch at those big tournaments, right? You see some people that execute their skill and how they're playing with their team. That yes, you know the ones that are going to Texas where you're like, I'm not even going to write that person's name on my list. But you know the level at which we play now and what we're trying to continue year after year to build toward. And so you see people that have maybe certain skill sets athletically. And again, we're not always perfect about how we're judging these things. This is in our best sort of like professional evaluation. And so we're watching those things. And then it's taking, again, those conversations, though, of is this person, when I talk to them on the phone, how do they think about their athletic experience, right? And we talk about it with their academics, too. But it's like, are they still excited about wanting to get better at the next level? Because if they're just like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I'm doing a great job. Like, my players right now, they are not satisfied with where they are right now. They know they're good to get here, right? We wouldn't recruit them if they weren't, but they are driven to find out where they can go next. And so they've got the athletic piece. There is a piece there, but there's also still potential and there's possibility. And so that's what we're trying, again, in our best estimate of, do they have some of those athletic pieces that we've seen over time that can be successful here, but also then do they have the passion and the drive to also want to get better?
I think just to piggyback on that is, like, I always talk about three things. Is we're looking for the best student, because if you're going to go through the education here with passion for learning and grow and do the best, apply yourself in the best way in the classroom, that's going to allow you to really expand those skills in your sport as well. So the best student could be, I'm also looking for the best golfers, for those that have demonstrated that they can compete at this level. And the third thing, which is sometimes hard to quantify, but it's like, what's their passion about Williams? I love hearing where it's like, I really want to come to Williams for what Williams has to offer. Because if they have that excitement, they're willing to put in a lot of work in all those other elements of their lives. I said Rose Sang, who just completed her sophomore year at Stanford, left Stanford to start her professional golf career. I used her something like, we might have someone like Rose Sang, like, I really want to come to Williams. And it was like, okay, let's see if your academics are apt to the standard that we're looking for at Williams. That's where it starts. Because if not, you might be Rose Sang, but you're not coming to Williams. So that's the number one part. But it is, there was the girl a couple of years ago that she was like, hey, coach, I'm really interested, we're on the phone, really interested in coming to Williams. I heard so many great things. And I said, yeah, you're a really great golfer. Yeah, I just played this tournament in Arizona. I shot like 5 under, finished top 5 in a really strong amateur event against some of the top talent in the country. It's like, okay, great. So you're at that level. You're going to have a lot of opportunities in front of you to play at the top level. At Williams, you're not going to have as much time to practice. We're not going to travel as much to compete against the best players in the country. If you have aspirations to potentially play professional golf after this, maybe Williams is not the right spot for you. But if through all your search, you come back to it, it's like, no, I think Williams is still the right spot. Definitely let's talk, because I'm excited about that potential. But let's be honest also about what Williams is and what it is not.
And I'll give Rob a little shout out because he's done, I've gotten to work with his daughter, Selena. He's asked questions, and I know he's not fishing. He did not ask me to say this, but you want to talk about like potential and drive and everything else. His daughter has it. Not going to be excited to see her across the net at Tufts for the next 4 years, but it is a great example for the things that he's talking about, and so just kudos to him because he's done a great job with his daughter. So I'll give him a shout out. Yeah, Lara.
This was really great. I'm curious though, you talked a little bit about the ups and downs of a season, and I was hoping you could talk a little bit about how you work with your teams, your players, when things aren't going well.
Yeah.
Like when things are just not where you want them.
Maybe they should tell.
Yeah.
They absolutely can. My crew right there, they're all hiding. We actually had a conversation with our returning group here recently, and I think one of the things that we've created within our program is, and Thomas talked about, the ability at the beginning of practice to just kind of share where you're at, right? And there are these ups and downs. There's what happens on the court, but there's also what are they just experiencing throughout the course of the day before they come to 4:30 for practice. And so we've created a space where they do, I think, and they can answer, feel very supported to be able to share in that moment without judgment of, hey, today was not a great day for me away from here. I've got 3 papers due. I've got a midterm coming up in 2 days. And I'm going to do my best in this space while I'm here to put it aside, have my teammates help support me, try to get better at volleyball for the day. But this is where I'm at. Let's be honest about what I'm dealing with. And that they lean on each other as they go through. Some weeks are, I don't know if I would say easier than others for most, but some people are like, hey, I got you. I can carry a little bit more load to help support you. And we have something within our team too of, they have the option when we go through the season, if they need a mental health day, they just text me and say, hey coach, practice isn't the place that I should be today. I need to go to the library. I need to go to office hours. And it's like, great, how can we help support you in that? Because I know then on the other side, if I give them that space because they need it, they're going to be better the next day. And that usually always happens. And if there's things, we have conversations as teams, and we get to know our players really well, so we know when things are a little bit off, to be able to check in more. We have individual meetings as we go through a season. So that aspect of really paying attention to how they're doing as people is a real priority for Thomas and I as we think about our team. So I don't know if that helps sort of.
I'll give a slightly different example. Because I'll be very humble about this. We have a very good women's golf team. We went through the fall season undefeated in Division III golf. So experiencing
They're number
that,
2 right now in the country.
Number 2 in the country. We feel like we should be number 1, but that's okay. We'll take that. So they go through a lot of sense of accomplishment, success. But there have been times where performance has gone down. And there was one year, it was fall of either 2017 or 2018. I was really excited about the team we had. It's like, we have the team to do it all. Go through it, win a national championship, really just dominate. So I was like, okay, here are the terms we're playing. We're going to win them all. That's our goal. And ending with the national, we're going to win it. These are the records, previous records. We're going to break all the records. And these are like the current numbers. What do you think? How much can we beat them by? We're that good. And I got excited. I got ahead of myself. I got really outcome-oriented, results-oriented. Got too excited about where we're at and forgot about what are the steps we need to take in that moment. And so after we had played, I think, 3 tournaments that fall, finished like 4th, 3rd, 2nd, someone didn't win any of them. We sat down for one of our Tuesday team talks. I said, girls, this is on me. Like, I have been way too focused on the outcome, the results, and not allowed you just to go through the process and be present for what we're working on each and every time. And I could just tell by just their body, it's just like, okay, I can breathe now. Like, there's so much expectations on me, like to be great, to be successful, to break all these records and win all these tournaments. And just seeing how that impacted them from there was really important for me as a coach to take ownership in that as well. Like, we as coaches, we do impact that and how we set our teams up. So I'll leave it at that. Please.
Williams obviously gathers a lot of student athletes together and has a coaching staff that manages to regularly help those students pretty much dominate the Director's Cup. Now, this is the first time, coaches have been lecturing us in this particular series context. My question is, what do you think? You guys achieve great things from your students. The regular faculty who are not called coaches, they're called philosophers or biologists or whatever. Achieve great things too, but what do you think, because you're interacting more with the whole person than the intellect of that person, what advice would you have to professors to maybe raise their game a bit?
Just as you said it, it's focus on the person. Like it's the example I gave of like person first, golfer second, like with the person that plays golf. It's a person who takes your class. It's a person who studies biology, not a future biologist. It was interesting, I had one of the statistics professor audit my beginner's PE class last year. And then she came to our spring invitational. And she was like, this is really interesting. I've had some of your students in my statistics class. Now I really got to see what their passion is, what they are outside. Like, I understand, like, maybe my introductory statistics class was not where like their true passion is, but I could notice a difference when they're out there. And it's like getting to know that. I love asking, what class are you taking? How do you like that class? It's kind of boring. Okay. Why is it boring? Or like, oh, it's amazing. I learned this thing, and they go on for like 15 minutes sharing. Like, just getting to know the whole person, tapping into those things. Not just like, do you know this specific thing that we just went over? And are you able to demonstrate that knowledge? Would be my recommendation.
And I think the only thing I would add to echo Thomas's comments are there are a lot of amazing academic colleagues that I know who do this, right? Who do care about the person that comes into their classroom and invest a ton of time away from here. And I think, it's important, again, everybody does it differently. And there may be, hopefully, there would be some takeaways that might help people elevate or think about their classes differently. But I also think it's important that, we think of ourselves as a bigger team here at the college. And I would hope that there is more collaboration about what we're doing for the whole student to create this experience, so they do have this relationship with us. We do get the advantage of having a lot of these of our students for 4 years, which doesn't happen in the classroom. You only get 12 weeks. But how are we working better together? And a lot of us, we've got some great colleagues that we really enjoy having that collaboration and that partnership with them, but we could do more of it and be a better, I think, team across the board in that way. Yeah, President Mon?
I'm curious how you think of your PE educating in the context of your varsity sport educating. You're focused on your teams here, but I'd love to just hear about them.
I'll jump in first. I love my PE classes. So we get to interact. We each teach different things. It's one of the most exciting things that I get to do when I'm asked to be a part of each quarter. And again, I love my team. I get to see them every day, but I also call my PE classes my team too. I teach anything from, I've taught to spike ball to muscle fitness, which is like an introduction to strength and conditioning, and a lot of other things in between, intro to volleyball. I think what's exciting for me is that there are people who come in who have had athletics as part of their past, and maybe high school or middle school. Maybe it's something that's they're not wanting to do it at the college level, but there's some people who have never, ever been in some of our spaces, and helping them feel comfortable and empowered to go in and like do a workout in the upstairs LaSalle Fitness Center. Like my PE class right now, I've got people who have never been in that brand new awesome space. And after 2 weeks of class, they're excited, like they're coming in for, a morning workout, which not a lot of people do morning workouts well. And they've been great, and they do almost anything I ask them. I'm like, if you want to do a burpee, which I don't know if you know what a burpee is, most people hate burpees, right? They're like, okay, I'll try it. This is great. Coach says try it. But I love it. And it's a way for our department, and I think we are the one department possibly that has a touch point with every single student at some point in their 4 years here. And that is something that we take really seriously about our teaching and our coaching. We offer a lot of PE options across the course of the year. And the fact that we get to see every single student, what we're doing in that experience, I think is pretty cool.
I just want to add to it that when Coach Kelsey and I were talking about like, okay, what should we talk about in a lecture? It's like, there are a lot of things we're involved with at the college. Coaching our team, I would say, is about 25% of it. even though there's a lot goes into it because of other things. I just came straight from my PE mindfulness and stress transformation class just before this lecture now. And I really enjoy it. It's the second time I teach that class. And it's focused more on the mental health and well-being, more than necessarily just the physical one. And we were going through a body scan, a 30-minute body scan, and I told them before that, it's like, hey, what we're here to do is to observe and learn and be aware of what's going on with our thoughts, with our bodies, with the hope to be more present, more focused, more non-judgmental on things. And I said, hey, let's also, if you happen to drift off and fall asleep, give yourself that permission. I said, just don't snore too loud because that might be distracting for the rest of us. And one of the quotes, because then we did a little reflection afterwards and we were talking, and one of the quotes that one of the students brought up, she was like, wow, this is the only time at Williams I've been allowed to give myself a permission just to drift off. Just be distant or fall asleep a little bit or whatnot. And it's like, I wish I would give myself that permission more often. That really hit me. I was like, wow, that's a lot of stress to carry every day. And so my message to them, and this is just one example, I teach PE, golf, and handball and other sports that I'm really passionate about and I love teaching. I love introducing the student body to interacting with those that we don't get to spend as much time with. But it's those lessons you take away with you after those classes. It's like, wow, I'll take that with me into the day and into the week. So thanks for asking. What else?
All right, thank you both.
Christoph had one more question.
I can't say.
So it's a kind of a mixed question and comment. You know, at a time when we have so much information about performance, right? Think about the New York Times, about, you know, what we know about nutrition and how nutrition is going to make you a better athlete. At a time when I have so much information on YouTube on how to do this, right? All those videos that teach you how to get better, right? I was really struck by what you said, Tomas, about the process, right? At a time when, you know, I teach language, feels a little threatened by AI. It was all about the result and no longer the process. So how do you, and I kind of envy you guys, because I feel like your students actually understand the process, right? And this is also what you said, that the only time when you are too much focused on the results, your team did not do well. So long story short to say, how do you anchor that into your student athletes? How do you remind them that what matters is the process and less the results? And that the process leads to the result. But there's no shortcuts. And it doesn't work, even if you study all the, I don't know, information out there. We're just focused on the outcome and the result.
I'll just say, for me, that's been the grounding thing. It's a curriculum. Where up there has anything to do with outcome and results? Tournament performance, nothing. But it's breaking it down, for me, it's breaking it down for them. It's like, it's marginal gains. If I get a little bit better, 1% better in a few of those things through these 5 domains, the results are going to take care of themselves. If we look at gaining some progress in some of those areas that you're fully invested in, that you've taken ownership over, and so I'm not even going to attempt a different class, or not a German class or whatnot, but thinking about elements of that class, if a student would get a little bit better at understanding, reading, speaking, whatever it would be, like, is that progress? And so my thing would be breaking it down into the smaller pieces. Easier to digest.
You said the best.
Thank you.
No? So easier to digest, we have cookies?
Great segue.
Thank you all again for...
Thank you so much.